On today's edition, we are looking into an eminent issue in our health sector that has held our health services or health service system to basis of disagreement between the government and our health workers. We are quite aware that we are just back into resumption of full activities and business after the COVID-19 crisis. During this crisis, or during the crisis, there was outcry and agitation from the health workers on the incentives and financial benefits attached to those within the frontline fight against coronavirus. These differences related to wages, benefits, health care facilities, and the plight of health workers have been the issue of contention between both parties. And recently, Dr. Stanley Egbogo, I hope I also pronounced that name properly, the National Publicity Secretary of the National Association of Resident Doctors, said the federal government has not invited them to a meeting after they notified them that they will be proceeding on strike. So we have directed all our members, according to him, to the country, both in the federal and state institutions, to recommence the strike has suspended on June 2022, June 22nd of 2020. So to discuss this with me is the President LASUTH, Association of Resident Doctors. She is the Senior Registrar in Dermatology, Internal Medicine Department. She is a stakeholder and a powerful decision maker as Association of Doctors is concerned in Lagos State, and she will be talking to us through the rationale of the purported strike that has been called off. She will be shedding light on the contentious and the tensions between the government and the association, and possibly prefer solution to the crisis. Itohan, Ruth, I hope I pronounced your name. Please pardon me. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. And it is great to have a stakeholder and active player in the health system on our show today. It is indeed a privilege to have with us one of those who are actively involved in saving lives during the coronavirus. For some reason, I've been trying to pronounce it coronavirus because that's what my daughter calls it anyway. So first things first, how are you doing? And I hope you've been staying safe.
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you.
All right. So let's just go straight to the business of the day. What does the public need to know about the resident doctor strike?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I would say a lot of water has gone underneath the bridge since 22nd of June, actually. Okay. Because the strike, like you earlier mentioned, commenced in June 15th. Went on 1 week strike and then suspended the strike. But we had to reconvene again this month. And we went back or resumed the suspended strike. That was on the 7th of September. But as I speak to you, even the resumed strike has been called off. It's been called off since that was Thursday.
On Thursday, correct?
Yes. So we are currently back to work. But just to give us a preamble of why we went on the strike in the first instance. And what has transpired till now. Okay, when we commenced the strike, there were a lot of issues which included inadequate personal protective equipment for healthcare workers. Then we had about 26 of our resident doctors in June teaching hospitals that were illegally disengaged. And we felt that was very unfair and they needed to be reinstated back. Then also, there's the Medical Residency Training Act, which governs all resident and tertiary health institutions because we are involved in training apart from the services we offer the citizenry. So that Medical Residency Training Act, we needed the universal implementation of that act, both in the federal and state tertiary institutions. Other concerns of ours included the COVID-19 hazard inducement allowance, funding of the medical residency training, because that would also, the funding talks about what needs to be done in the respective tertiary institutions, the availability of healthcare even to the masses, in terms of investigations, in terms of instruments and all of that will be used in their management. So it goes beyond just we also have the patients in mind. Then of course some members in federal and state tertiary institutions areas, quite a lot, and those were issues really. A lot of issues all over the nation. That was what brought about the initial strike.
All right. Thank you so much for enlightening us regarding, the strike at hand. But, listening to you, we have quite a number of associations that collectively represent health workers in the country, and we need to understand who they represent and what their powers are. The National Association of President Dr. As in the National President, National Association of President Doctors, once I think the NMA, JOHESU, NMA, PSN, and NANNM. I hope I'm correct. I just feel that, doing a lot of research at the time, I've been seeing a lot of, NMA, this, blah, and all of that, and I cannot help but ask that, why isn't there a single body that will speak on behalf of all of this association as one to avoid the crisis we have that is ongoing at the moment?
Well, that's very interesting. We are very unique, even within the medical field.
Okay.
We have different bodies, like you rightly mentioned. We have the Nigerian Medical Association, that's the Association of Doctors.
Yes.
All over, and even nationwide, that's the NME.
Yes.
The branches within the states as well. Then, of course, you have the nurses association, that's the NANNM. You have JOHESU, joint health sector unions, which include the physiotherapists, the medical lab scientists, and all. You also have the pharmacy. So different fields, really, of medicine have their different unions. And like you said, you can't just have one person, because we have different fields. We are trained in different fields, different areas. We are not all, yes, it's medicine, but, they are different. You have the pharmacists that are particular about the body, how the body will metabolize the drugs and all of that. That is beyond us. We may have read part of it while in school, but it's specific for the pharmacy. You have the nurses. Of course, the nurses have to do a lot with the patient's care.
Yes.
All right. So you have the doctors. The doctors are going to be the ones to diagnose the condition. The different illnesses. So they will tell you what investigation is appropriate after they've taken a proper history and all of that. And once they've gotten all of the history and the results of the investigation, slow it down to what the condition is. So everybody have their rules to play. So you can't really just have one major union and then expect one person to oversee everybody. It's going to be difficult.
All right, but according to the enlightenment you gave us earlier, that the doctors, the NARD strike has been called off since Thursday, 10th of September 2020, and the current strike action is being called by JOHESU. Why is JOHESU wing having a counter decision, and what are their grievances, if I may ask?
So that would have been nice if JOHESU representative could answer that, because they are the ones that can really tell you what's pinching them. I can only speak for my constituents.
Okay.
Yes, and tell you why we had to go on strike and why we've called off. All right, but I think they should give you their own perspective of their agitations, really.
So with your own understanding, you do not have a clue to why they have all of these grievances and they're calling the strike on?
Well, yeah, and they're little saying, the truth of the matter is, from the circular I've read on the speech the JOHESU chairperson had talked about, they are aggrieved that maybe some certain positions are being channeled towards a certain group of professionals. Okay. They are also aggrieved that when it comes to what's this? Basically, I do not want to say too much because I'm not in a position to really speak for them. It's just a little what I perceive may be the problem. All right. But, it would be nice for them to speak for themselves.
Definitely, we would invite them on board. So, but during the COVID-19 lockdown period, there were agitations and strike actions from different quarters and states. What was the reason for this at the time?
Okay, during the COVID-19 lockdown.
Yes.
It was actually in the heat of the lockdown that NARD went on strike.
Mm-hmm.
And I listed out already the various reasons for
the
strike. We had tried to reach out to the government severally because we didn't just wake up one day to say, okay, let's go on a strike. You know, from our respective states, our respective stations, we had tried to work with our government. We had sent memos, we had sent letters, you know, stating our grievances or the concerns we had with our training. And it just looked like nobody. And also one of the things during that COVID-19 was the fact that for us now in Lagos, if I may come down home, in Lagos, a certain group of people were considered as frontliners. And the doctors working within the isolation center. Whereas other doctors that were working in other general hospitals as well as the tertiary hospital, that is LASUTH, were not considered as frontline doctors. Because of that, of course, those in the isolation centers were given some form of incentive. But they left us saying we're not treating COVID, but they failed to realize that we were seeing as well. Many of us were getting infected with COVID-19. And in LASUTH, we recorded a death amongst our nursing staff.
Oh, wow.
Okay, in LASUTH. So it was very real to us. And we really felt pained as an association of resident doctors that were not being given that due recognition by our government. And, you know, we are not saying this is not our job in any way. But if you must compensate some other people, why not compensate everybody?
Everybody.
Yeah.
I quite understand what you've just shared. So we know that the government spent a lot during the COVID-19 crisis to upscale the medical facilities and expand the capacity of hospitals. Even private bodies contributed to this, to situations like this. But the governments, you know, I don't know how to put it. Can we say that it is inadequate, or is it a problem of budget to the health sectors regarding the spending or the challenges that we are still facing in the health sector today?
Well, in terms of when you talk about renovated or improved facilities maybe in those centers where they were being treated, as where COVID-19 was being treated, yes, they got equipment, they kind of upgraded their facilities there to cater for the COVID-19 patients. So it was just, let me say, one or two centers.
Okay.
You can't say, you can't generalize it. Let me use that word.
Okay.
Because you have so many other general hospitals. Yes, and then you have LASUTH here as well, and we didn't get any improved, makeovers with the equipment within these other hospitals. And then when you talk of finance, yes, we've heard so much that the revenue dropped, that there had to be a splash in the budget because of this. But there were funds that were raised. If we all remember, there were a lot of
yes.
There were a lot of donations towards
from private. Yes.
Yes. So there were funds on ground. And even though it looks like activities were grounded, economy grounded, but I tell you that there was actually an increase in our internal generated revenue in Lagos. Okay, so really, that is why we feel the needful should be done. Let's not play on people's intelligence, really.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Let me use this opportunity to open our phone lines. Please join us by calling the phone line 0700 923 923 923. Again, 0700 923 923 923. And of course, you can send us a message on WhatsApp 0817 313 6193. Let's hear your own perspective of the topic at hand. And if you have questions for our guests, please go ahead and hit us with your comments, your queries, or of course your contribution as well, because we are open to your own suggestion as well. So moving forward, ma'am, the National Publicity Secretary of NARD said, and I quote, that the truth is that the current job hazard can't be compared to the daily risk they face or we face due to exposure to hepatitis B and C viruses. So the risk is just too much for 5,000 naira, according to him. So my question is, how true is this statement from NARD?
Oh, it's very true, ma. Okay, even before COVID-19 came in, there was on increment on the need to increase our hazard allowance. That had been ongoing even before now, before COVID-19 came in. We've been receiving 5,000 for donkey years. Donkey years. I can't tell you for how long. I'm sure if you ask some professors, they will tell you they also receive 5,000.
Of course.
Okay, so it's really it's terrible that we are still on 5,000 for hazard allowance. This cry had been on even way before COVID-19. We've had other infectious conditions before COVID-19 came.
Yes.
There's Lassa fever in Nigeria, and that is not as COVID much more. We've had Ebola in time past. We've had several other viral infections, okay? And it's been a cry that the hazard allowance should increase beyond the 5K that we're getting at the moment,
All right. So, it's so sad, and I sympathize with the doctors that this has been affected, because really it's unbelievable that 5,000 naira is what is still being received as, oh gosh. Let's move on to another message from one of our listeners. His name is Ayobami Okunlawo. He said, "Good evening, Real Talk with Kike. Wishing you happy 1 anniversary celebration in advance. The current gridlock between the health workers and the federal government is quite disheartening, especially at a time when all hands are needed on deck on our health sector. I hope that all issues will be resolved permanently as soon as possible. May God bless Nigeria." So that's his own contribution for the show today. So, ma'am, the association is demanding payment of medical residency training funding to all its members as approved in the revised 2020 budget, and payment of outstanding in April, May, and June COVID-19 inducement allowances to all health workers, among others. So the question now is the federal government still yet to pay the training allowances? Okay, we have a caller on the line. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
My name is Paul. I'm calling for Chacha.
Okay, what's your contribution today, please?
Hello.
Please go ahead. We're all ears.
Hello.
I can hear you. All right, apologies. So, ma'am, we have another caller on the line, so I can't help but ask this question. So, is the federal government still yet to pay the training allowances that is long overdue since April or May and June COVID-19 inducement allowance or allowances to health workers?
All right, so you have the COVID-19 inducement allowance.
Yes.
Which federal government had agreed upon.
Yes.
Extended it from 3 months to 6 months.
Okay.
But I'm aware that right now they are receiving the federal tertiary health institutions.
Okay.
Are receiving the 3rd month as we speak. Okay, for COVID-19 hazard inducing. For the medical residency, I'm aware that has been included into the next year budget. Yes. So, of course, there's nothing to say about that until next year.
Interesting. So, in the midst of these contentions and disagreements, we also wish to ask, ask questions for the sick people in the hospital. What is their faith if strike ensues, that is continuous, and what will happen to the call of saving lives?
Okay, like I said, we have resumed strike.
Yes.
From the strike, rather.
Yes. Since Thursday. Yes.
And we've been attending to all patients on ground. And I tell you that even during the last week, when the strike in LASUTH, to be precise, because the state tertiary health institutions are very, different in so many ways from the federal tertiary health institutions. For us, we have to deal directly with the state government. And so depending on your negotiations or any agreement you have with them, it will not be fully off, work. And so during the period the NARD strike was ongoing, we modified because we currently have with stakeholders within the Lagos state government. So we've been able to, for us, if I may just come back a bit, we did that.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, ma'am. Can you please hold your thoughts, please? Hello, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
Okay, my name is Moses. I'm calling from Yaba.
Okay, what's your contribution today?
Yeah, my contribution is that it's actually very important that we must all understand the importance of good healthcare services, either in Lagos or in the whole of Nigeria as a whole. Now, it's very easy for some people, when they see, get onto the plane and fly out of Nigeria and say that they want to go and seek medical attention elsewhere. If we provide all that our healthcare personnel need to be able to carry out proper medical service, then there will not be any need for them to go on strike before they can, before their needs are met. It's not. I don't think it's fair on the Nigerian nation, to blame medical personnel for embarking on the strike to get what they deserve or what can allow them to do their work properly. The government should rise up to the task of ensuring that proper medical facilities and ensure that medical personnel get what is due them. You don't need to go on strike, before they listen to them. I don't think it's nice. That's my contribution.
All right, thank you for your contribution. Hello? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Do you have anything to say to what
the caller said it all, really, because truly, if everything is on ground, because the strike, like I earlier mentioned, also includes the right for the patient as well.
Yes.
We talked about the funding of the medical residency training. It's so that at the end of the day, the patients will benefit, will be seen properly, will get that proper health service that we owe each citizenry. So really, it's not just all about us. Okay, we also consider the patient's welfare.
All right, ma'am, hold your thoughts. We have another caller on the line. Hello, what's your name and where are you calling from, please?
Good evening, Kike. My name is Aduchukwu Emeka.
Okay, what's your contribution today?
Okay. It's quite unfortunate that our health sector is in comatose. A number of us were thinking COVID-19 would have been a blessing in disguise. Our JOHESU, our NARD, National Association of President Doctors, all not have been going on strike if their grievances were met long before now.
I agree.
It may interest us to know that the Minister of Labour and Productivity is a medical doctor. The Minister of Health is a medical doctor. All these stakeholders are aware of the problems and grievances of the health sector, and they don't want to do anything about it. I think the same effort that was put in place by the Govt in a contributing funds, maybe private individuals and corporate bodies should come together and see how we can really revive our health sector. Brain drain has come to stay. A number of our health personnel are leaving the country in droves, going to a place where their services are appreciated. It can't continue this way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in. So, ma'am, before we go into go on a quick break, I can't help but ask this: if most strike actions are related to wages and allowances, what exactly is the problem? Should there be a revision of in the salary scale or skills of health workers in Nigeria? Because I believe that when this has been revised, have been reviewed, all the challenges that we are facing will be behind us. What's your take on this?
Okay, well, the issues go beyond just salaries, like I've been trying to speak. But speaking on the salaries, right? One of the major issues, NARD went on strike. One of the other reasons included salary disparity. And you find that for federal tertiary institutions, they go home with a particular, salary, and whereas in the states it's very low, quite lower than their federal counterparts. We've produced papers, circulars to show our government for them to see reason why they needed to be on the same page, our federal, counterparts. So really, I would agree with you that yes, it's also a major problem because down here in the States, we see quite a lot of patients. You find that in Lagos, we have 5 tertiary health institutions. 4 of them are federal, and 1 is state, which is LASUTH. And I tell you that we see, if not the same number of patients, extremely much more than the other federal tertiary health institutions.
All right, thank you, folks. Thank you so much for that submission. And I think that we'll quickly go on a quick break and return after headline news. But first, a word from our sponsor. Do not touch that dial. This is Real Talk with Kike. So glad to know you all are still right there with us. If you're just tuning in, this is Real Talk with Kike. So on the second segment of the show, our guest will be addressing or digressing away from the strike to the general affairs of the healthcare system in the country and the infrastructure facilities in the country. And again, I think that the welfare of the doctors, the quality training and infrastructural setup is what gives the poor man hope in our healthcare system. So these are our discussion for this segment. So thank you, ma'am, for staying right there with us. I'm highly honored to have you on the show today, and of course to enlighten every one of us on the challenges that we are having internally, especially when it comes to the health sector in Nigeria and of course in Lagos State. So the next question I would like to ask, because I know Jerry Oguzi, the NARD president, said we have watched helplessly as our professional or the profession has been terribly bastardized and infrastructural decay has overtaken our hospitals and health clinics. How is the profession being bastardized, if I may ask, Dr. Ruth?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on your program. For the bastardization, if I may borrow your term, of the health sector.
Yes.
I'll say that for our government, it begins with every one of us. Like I keep telling people, the government really is basically everybody. All right, not just a certain few in the position of authority, but even we ourselves that are on ground, okay, and our input into the welfare and the infrastructure and everything that has to do with the health sector. So, if I would begin with those in authority, find that having on ground structures, protocols, okay, principles, or what will I call it? Just structures essentially that would move the health sector forward. The foundation of the thing matters a lot. Okay, and if we don't put the right things in place, every other thing we'll do would crumble. So it's just what we've been talking about. If you don't set out your plan and write it out plainly for all to see, you have, like in the health sector, different unions, like we rightly highlighted. And these unions have their roles well structured and outlined for everybody. You will find that we would have everyone doing what they should do at the appropriate time. The remuneration as well is done as agreed upon, and nobody is being shortchanged in any way. I tell you, it will make sense if policies are put in place that would make up the bedrock of medicine. I think it begins with that.
Absolutely.
If we miss it from that very aspect, every other thing we do is like trying to pour water into a basket. And it's going to be difficult. All right. So this issue of disparity, like I mentioned, if it had been sorted out ab initio, we would be having this matter. All these things are recurrent problems.
Absolutely.
They are not things that just cropped up all of a sudden. Well, with the exception of COVID-19 inducement.
That has exposed,
Yes, but every other issues have been
there.
Yes, they've been there. So what is the problem? Is it that we are not listening? Is it that we are not learning? Okay. So, and I think it still boils down also to priority. If we don't consider health sector a priority, okay, then of course nothing will be done. We would speak from now to tomorrow, and the whole thing would. Now, someone earlier mentioned, I believe, if I heard him well, that our government, they are traveling out. They have all these health visitations. They go out of the country to get health services. Why not work on your own health system here? People are moving out, brain drain. Why? Because yes, the work is there. It's not as if they are going there to have a holiday.
All right. So before we move there, I can't help but ask this question, because I understand that you've been talking about the quality services from our hospitals and the medical facilities in the country and all. I think we have another caller on the line. Hello? Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from, please? Please, in 1 minute. Yeah.
My name is James Bonner. I'm calling from Oshodi.
Okay. What's your contribution?
I have stopped blaming the government ever since I see the way unions and union executives, the way they handle issue of agreements with the government, and I've started blaming the unions themselves. They have an antecedent that we have a government that don't honor agreements. If I were to be a union leader, or probably the NARD president, any agreement we are going to agree to the federal government, I will not call off the strike. I will ensure that the government have fulfilled their own end of the bargain before calling off the strike. When they call off strike, in the midst of agreement, the government will never.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution.
I won't be surprised if they go back again to the negotiation table, because the government will never honor the agreement. So what I'm asking them to do is, while their discussions are going on, the strike should continue. They shouldn't call off strike until the government have completed everything that they're asking the government to do before they can call off strike. Otherwise, they will still go back again to strike, and they will call them again for another meeting. So I think that's the best thing. If you have 10 points agenda, you want government to meet out, let the government complete the whole 10 before you call off your strike. Otherwise, you are repeating the same circle again. Good evening.
All right. Good evening. All right. Thank you for your contribution on the show today. Quickly, because of time, I think that I really need to ask this question, because I understand that our poor care system can no longer be defended, with a lot of people calling in now and, listening to you as well. Can the simple Nigerian and the ordinary masses be confident of this system to guarantee them a chance to better health care, if I may ask? Do you think this can actually come to pass?
Well, we really hope so. It is a matter of hope right now. It's a matter of certainty. The truth is, the doctors themselves, the nurses on ground, the pharmacists, the lab technicians and scientists, we are trying to do our best with the limited resources on ground. Okay, but there's always a limit to what one can do.
Absolutely.
Yes, so we will continue to play our own role. We'll continue to offer the services we can with the available resources and infrastructure on ground. And we would only hope that things will get better.
Amen. So truly, we have observed that majority of our certified and qualified doctors have all deserted the country to countries like Canada, UK, USA to get better rewards for their profession. What's the government doing in this case that is ongoing? Because I know that it's rapid.
Well, that's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
We've asked several of our federal ministers for health and minister for labor and productivity, and I'm sure even past minister for health, and I'm sure we all recall the various responses we got. Some actually suggested that we are too many, and that it is good that we leave the country and come back with, what we have learned, that if the doctors choose to come back anyway. Others have insinuated that we can do other things. We don't all need to be doctors. Okay, so you can imagine if we have such, then it just tells you that really nothing is being done.
Yes.
I think in a country where things like this is happening and you are losing you're losing your assets. Okay, you've trained these doctors, you've invested in them. Why not keep them, ensure that they have adequate accommodation,
quality life?
Yes, they have, the ability to move around because they are needed.
They're mobile.
Yes, as soon as possible. So they need to be on ground. They have what it means to live a good life. Honestly, if you go abroad, the people going out is because of these things. The work is there. They will work it, but at the same time, they are well taken care of.
Absolutely. I because of time, this will definitely be my last question to you. I wish that I can bring you back again, because obviously we have a lot of issues that is ongoing. And how I'm seated behind this mic, I'm actually in a bad state. It's just because some of us, we feel that we can afford, private hospitals and all of that. We shouldn't be, but, I cannot help but ask you this question before you go. Can we say that the government has paid more attention to the welfare of health workers or infrastructure in the system, or is it the case of none of the two?
They need to do more.
All right.
Okay. I'm sure they will tell you they have paid much attention and all. It's what we call a paradigm, your way of looking at it. But the truth of the matter is they need to do more.
Of
if
course.
they were doing all they needed to do, then we wouldn't be having such, brain drain and all.
Thank you so much, I must solidly commend your sacrifice, your effort, your passion for your profession. Nothing is more important than saving lives. A very notable call and respected profession. May God continue to assist you, Dr. Ruth, and of course the entire health workers in the delivery of your mandate. Again, thank you so much for sharing part of your evening with me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. So our closing remarks, courtesy Omoluabi personality from Goldberg, is Ilera Logun Agba. I hope I pronounced that properly, which is health is wealth. We call on all our health workers and the government to come to terms and the agreement, because when two elephants fight, the grasses suffer. Access to good health care is precious to every citizen and a right to everyone. Again, this is where I draw the curtain of the day of the show. Till I come your way next week, my name remains Kikelo Matandao, and you have been on Real Talk with Kike. Bye now.